cut because it's all interconnected with the land as well. The big issue is getting people to come to Monday's meeting, the public meeting, for the approval of the budget, right?
Yeah, Monday at 6.
And we've got to get everyone.
Next Monday.
It's Monday at 6, and people need to. I mean, if they don't show up, then
I can't help
on
you.
them.
Then it's apathy.
As I'm a restaurant owner, all I have to do is change a setting in the system, 5 to 6. I collect it. I don't get rich. I don't get any of that money. I just have to remit what I collect.
Yeah, as now a unpaid tax collector.
No, they something there. I mean, it's like
whatever it may be. But
teeny.
So, Simon, you want to catch me up to speed on what I missed, being that I was chasing cows?
But you didn't miss a damn thing. We got up and spoke, and they adjourned the meeting.
Oh,
that was it.
That was actually kind of. I mean, it was a setup. I knew it'd be limited to 3 minutes. I was surprised they had the little clock there with the light.
Yeah,
thought that was cute. And then I ran over 3 minutes, and I kept talking, and then Holland was trying to, and then Holland threw.
He did give you another 30 seconds before he went, I'm going to cut you off.
Yeah, I know.
But that's what they do at the Board of Supervisors, the school board as well. You're recording, you bastard.
It's about a minute and a half. We don't really have to use that. I just kind of wanted to.
Stay on form.
Maybe we can just start it right there.
As soon as I saw your face grinning, I'm like, he's hit the record button. And there's you. You were in on that.
Well, no, actually, he really wasn't in on it. Then I just kind of gave him a look as I turned on your mic. And then I watched him kind of lead you down the path about what you missed tonight. No less. We might just start it at the point where
wankers.
You actually.
But I would like to get out of here like by 8:30. I got a big day tomorrow.
Yeah, we can.
So I can leave, but you guys can.
Yeah, we might finish it off or whatever. Okay. Welcome.
I don't even know if you can look at me and say welcome. You just stabbed me in the back yet again with a skullduggerous hit the record button. The pair of you, so unprofessional.
Welcome to the Appalachian Podcast. I'm your host, Billy Riddle. With me again is my co-host, Chris Montgomery. Chris, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Oh, yeah, I'm in the chair, though. Hey, I'm in the chair.
Well,
it's comfy as well, Chris.
Yeah, I was chasing cows before I got here.
Well, you know, in the spirit of our show, I mean, our former co-host, he really liked the cultural appropriation bit we would always do. So I think that to honor him tonight, I'll go down that path as I introduce our next guest. Is when I say, hello, Governor.
Hello, Governor. All right, geezer. It's all apples and pears.
Mighty fine day for a rain night, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a smashing weather we're having.
I tell you what, this wind can go on somewhere.
Yeah, wasn't that a blow last night?
Well, today.
Yeah, I got to check my fence lines too.
Yeah.
So we got Simon. We got Chris.
We got our special. Co-host. Yeah, the former and now special guest co-host.
Now I'm a special guest. Very special.
Hey, it's better than me called special head.
They just got to come in with humour.
We're also being joined by Bryan Hochstein. Bryan, good to see you again. It's been a minute since you've been on the show. We've kept in quite a bit of contact, and we had a nice little fun meeting tonight. So glad you come by here and kind of go over the nuts and bolts to let all the citizens know some of the things that they won't know because they weren't there and because it wasn't streamed. So appreciate you joining us again.
We know it wasn't streamed?
I could not find anything.
Oh, that's kind of disingenuous.
Yeah, I looked it up on Facebook.
You're so polite, Bryan. We really are.
No, we really
so
need to confirm that because they should.
Well, I'm just telling you, I can confirm that at 6
Now, do they normally do it live or do they normally record it and then upload it?
Well, I can generally watch it live.
Okay.
When they had the actual town council meeting, I watched it live, and I've watched several of the Franklin County Board of Supervisors live too.
Well,
so I mean, I can look right here.
Well, before we get going real quick, a couple of things. Rocky Mountain Burger Company for Bryan. Of course, we always appreciate what they do for us. And appreciate the fine food down there that we always get. We went down there this past weekend on Saturday night, I believe it was. Kyle Forey sent me a text message. He said, "Dude, I'm playing down there solo tonight." And I didn't know it was probably one of the few times he's ever played solo in his life. So I guess I can still, even as a seasoned musician, kind of give you the jitters a little bit. So we showed up, and my daughter danced the entire time in front of him.
She sang too, didn't she?
She sure did. So he gave her a mic and she sang for a bit, and then he turned up the music and turned on the mic for the last verse of that Frozen song with Elsa or whatever. And I'm gonna tell you what, the whole room was clapping and having a ball. I mean, she stole the night. So we had a real good time. Yeah, we had a fun night then. And of course, food was good as always. I like the boom boom shrimp. That's what we got. And it's always a good mix of people in there. I got some people in there that are there's always a couple of families, always a couple of people getting together with friends. There's always a few people sitting behind the bar watching a game, and some people listen to the music, and everybody seems to have a good time. Everybody seems to be connected. So, Brian, appreciate that. And I never can remember the address, but you're right across from the Harvesters, probably a good landmark in the early end. But it's what is the actual?
At the corner of Franklin and Floyd.
Franklin and Floyd. There we go.
Great venue.
Excellent. Always and
historic building.
Your head guy Bo or whatever.
Chef Bo.
Man, I'm telling you, man. The food gets better and better every time I go in there, and I'm not just saying that because you're sitting here. My wife and I, we truly enjoy spending our time.
He's
down
on
there.
fire. He's been building his team. They're responding, and he's setting some challenges out there, and they keep achieving it, and I love it.
Well, speaking of your phenomenal employees down there, I do believe that Simon and I are going to be recording a special show here in the next couple of days with a special guest that our friend Rick Reeves is bringing into town. I'm not going to give it away right now because it's...
Is he bringing him in?
Yes, apparently. So Wednesday or Thursday we're going to be recording. I mean, maybe
Are you recording there?
We can.
You
Maybe
guys
we could.
Can use
I don't
the
know.
barrel room.
We might could tell a few people to show up. Maybe give a couple Patreon subscribers an opportunity to come up here and listen. I don't know if I should say it. I mean...
No, don't say it. I mean,
I won't say it, but...
Suspense is killing everybody.
But maybe here in the next... I'm going to release this one early. Normally our shows go out on Wednesday. I'm going to release this tomorrow on Tuesday, emergency, just so everybody can kind of start taking in what all has been going on, with the town and everything like that.
Make sure there's some extra pens there in case somebody wants an autograph.
Absolutely. So hopefully Wednesday or Thursday night, maybe some Patreon subscribers be on the lookout for a message. It's going to come in hot. It might be Wednesday morning, might be Thursday morning, but a special guest with Rick Reeves. And I was telling Simon, this specific person, around this table, there's going to be a wrestler, a rugby player, a combat veteran, and what this guy does. I wonder who the craziest one in the room is going to be. So we'll have that discussion. But
have you gone to see Rex? Have you seen Rick Reeves in action?
I haven't had a chance to yet. Me and my daughter, I'm planning on taking her to the next time he comes to Rocky Mount.
Oh my gosh. I've gone twice, once here in the YMCA and once down in North Carolina. Fantastic.
You're forgetting about the farmer. I will do everything I can to be there. See which one's the craziest one. Have you ever stepped in behind a bull to try and put a band on his nuts?
Oh, no, don't do it.
Yes. Well, actually, we're trying to tag a calf in front of a mama. That's even more dangerous.
Y'all come on and spend a day with me.
We will.
We'll see what crazy's like.
Real quick, one more too. Huge announcement. We've talked about this a couple of times. At the end of May 23rd, 24th, that week, we are bringing in Spike Cohen, 2020 vice presidential candidate, potential front runner for 2024. We're going to be doing an event that Tuesday night at the Early Inn. We're going to have Buddy's Barbecue there, serving food. We're going to have a bar. So tell your alcohol drinking friends to come on. We're going to have Josh Grice, Kyle Forey, maybe a couple other people playing our music. It's going to be a good event. Spike's going to speak a little bit because we're going to take him around, show him some forums, talk to him about the things that are kind of, our concern in Appalachia or whatever. And then he's going to get a feel for that, and he's going to speak. We're going to have a Q&A. I want all the farmers to show up, on all the patriots in this town. Anybody that just wants to come hear what the man has to say. He's incredibly intelligent. First millennial on all 50 ballots for a presidential run. So that's going to be a big event. And then the next day we're doing the podcast, of course. Big shout out to everybody helping out with that. We got Foggy Ridge Cattle bringing the meat up here at Dave. Buddy's going to be flipping the burgers. Safe Side Tactical is going to be a part of it. Being Libertarian, check them out on Facebook, Twitter. I think Henry Law and Law's Choice Distillery is going to be a part of that. Melvin's Farm to Fork, Pruitt's Brother Construction, Amos's Blackwater Building. Who's
Blackwater
that?
Peddling.
Yeah, the Peddlers of the World and the Blackwater Custom and Woodworking Peddlers and the Peddlers with Josh Grice and the Harwell Grice. I mean, a lot of people out there, a lot of people are chipping in, and I'm probably forgetting one person. God forgive me. I'll give you an extra special. But that's going to be a huge event for the town. Everybody show up. I want everybody to show up, be there. Have a good time. Subscribe to us on Patreon, patreon.com/getontap, because we're going to give an opportunity also to some of our Patreon subscribers to come do a private meet and greet before the event on Tuesday night. Maybe we'll do that somewhere at another locality in town. But, yeah, so patreon.com/getontap. Or if you want to make a one-time donation and throw your hat into the ring, Cash App is Get On Tap, Venmo Get On Tap, and PayPal's WB Riddle. Every little bit helps. If everybody listened to it, $1 here, $1 there, $10, we could do a lot with this show. We could go a lot further. So if everybody that does do it, we appreciate it. Go subscribe, patreon.com/getontap, and try and get a hold of some of these VIP accesses for the Spike Cohen show. We got some other events coming up. Me and Simon are going to be bringing to the table in a couple of weeks, some involving some baseball we've talked about in the past. So a lot of interesting, exciting things coming up here in the next month. So let's get to why we are sitting here at this table this afternoon, gentlemen. We all have a great deal of interest and
Concern.
and personal investment in everything that happens in this town and in this county. And so I'm going to let you take it from here. We went and had what was the official name tonight?
It was
Bryan?
a public hearing on the fiscal 24 budget.
And all they did was basically hear word from the public, essentially. They did nothing. Were they supposed to do anything else?
No, that was the agenda. And basically they gave, there were 4 of us in attendance, and they gave us all the opportunity to speak, and all 4 spoke. They have a cute little timer now, so you see a green light, yellow light, red light. And
It's almost like a traffic system there right by the courthouse.
And when you run through a red light, a lawyer's going to sit there and say, you shouldn't have done that. And then you keep continuing, and the lawyer's going to sit there and say, well, now I can't help you.
Well,
well, no. Impersonations of...
well, look,
I'm referring to a different attorney.
Well,
one attorney was attentive and in charge, and the other attorney was falling asleep.
Well, if our taxpayers are paying for the attorney that's falling asleep, I'm kind of trying to wonder why his position needs to be justified. I mean, why not just go at a per trial basis anyway, instead of giving a man a salary, because I assume that's what he gets. And just each time you have a situation, go to a local attorney, you're investing in your local attorneys, and you find one that specializes in what they do, instead of one that, might be good at one thing. Might have to go to a real estate attorney for this deal, might have to go to a criminal one for this deal, Let's start cutting the fat there on the town level.
And to give some credit to town council, they did pass the what's the term limits.
Yeah.
So they've got the term limits in there, and the reason was because
does that have to be ratified at a state level though?
I understand that. Yes, I don't really understand the reasoning, but supposedly, but let's give them props. They put in term limits. That's a good thing.
Holland always said he was going to do that, and we applaud that, directive.
But at the same, there are certain people who have been around too long and they're hanging on, and we saw the evidence today. You're falling asleep at the switch in front of others.
Some medical issues too, right?
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
yeah, it was publicly announced, I think.
Who's that?
Right, Simon?
You know what? And unless it was publicly announced, I think we should probably steer clear of that.
Be the HIPAA.
Yeah. I think that's the issue that we're looking at now.
Check and see if that was.
Yeah, that's something to review.
Yeah.
But let's look at the proposal.
Well, let's talk first about the food tax.
That's exactly what I'm going to get onto.
Because I can read your mind. Your red coat.
If I could, I'm a restaurant owner, and I hate the concept of a meals tax. It's here to stay. I get that and all this, but it's offensive when you're going to raise the meals tax and not address it with cuts. You're not going to address it. Yes, please. You're not going to address it by getting rid of waste or even attempting. And so in this case, the town is looking to raise the meals tax from 5% to 6%. And I hate when somebody says, well, it's just a dime every dollar.
No, it's not.
Or a penny every dollar and a dime every $100, whatever it is. It's ridiculous. You're taking money from people who need to eat, and you're just propping up extra spending.
Your support.
It's not really about who needs to eat. It's about who wants to eat.
Well,
I mean, in the restaurant, right?
It's all prepared meals is really where that tax from restaurants.
Come into town and spend their money at a restaurant and support the businesses.
I still don't think, did we, and this is a question for you, Brian, did they actually come back with who they were going to use as comparables? Because if we were using the Harvard professors' cherry-picked samples,
yes,
then that doesn't work.
Well,
because they're cherry-picked by the guy that's actually promoting, some significant financial impact on this town.
Right. So I hate the way they did this.
That was awful.
They came back. They had a work session. The first work session last Tuesday. They come back. Was it a week ago? Anyway, they come back 2 days later for another work session. And yes, they did say which towns and counties, how much they paid. And they talked about one that pays 8% because they were grandfathered, which I can't. But they didn't. There wasn't anything printed out. There wasn't anything displayed on an overhead projector. They all had the information, but anyone in the audience did not.
So again, a bit of a lack of transparency.
Very much. But Franklin County is at 4%. Rocky Mount's at 5%. Last year, Franklin County proposed to go to 6%. Fortunately, there were some, people with a strong backbone on the Board of Supervisors, and they said no.
Good.
And now we're kind of hoping for the same. There really is no need to raise it to 6% because now all of a sudden the town restaurants will be charging an extra 2% more than the county restaurants. And so when funds are tight, you got, banks getting taken over by the government, GDP missed by 50%. I mean, 50%.
That's huge number.
And so
I'll tell you what, Brian, do you have the speech that you...
I do.
I would like you to read that because I suspect if it wasn't broadcast live or it hasn't gone out, no one else is going to know about it. So I'd like you to actually read your speech without an interruption for a time limit. I'd like you to go through it because I thought that actually hit the mark. I'm not going to give you an amber light or a red light.
Yeah, I'm going to say I did present today. And Deborah Arrington also presented, and I love some of the points she brought in as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you feel you want to add to that and ad-lib it.
There are people who are on fixed income.
Yep.
And this just eats into it. There's no... Anyway.
It always ends up with the end user getting shafted. I mean, at the end of the day, what will end up is the knock-on effect of this is you're going to see less business, which you're about to describe, because the cost is going to be passed to the end user. So it's always the end user actually gets stiffed. And the end user is actually the person who has the least capability to afford these increases. So we're taxing, the least able person with an increasing cost.
Yeah. And if I could, Billy, any chance while I'm talking, can you look up Reagan? Reagan had an incredible budget speech about how businesses grow, and then the government comes in and taxes it, and that's the death knell.
Yeah.
When you overtax it, you regulate it, then you tax it. There's a wonderful speech. I don't know if we can find it, but it would be a wonderful replay that you can throw in there because he was on point. I'm sorry if you didn't like Reagan. It's not a political thing. He hit the mark.
Yes, he did.
As soon as
I know
business
exactly
gets
the
successful,
speech you're talking about.
Then the government comes in and they regulate it, and then the last thing is they put it out of business by taxing it.
Now I think Billy's probably got about 3.5 minutes to research that, putting him under pressure.
3.5 minutes. Are you saying I went over the line?
I believe you were red lighted, and you were given.
Are Are you looking for the text or the video? Because I can't, on this soundboard, I don't think I can play the video into the stream. I'd have to add it later.
It's not that long a text, right?
I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, but I don't know what speech it was. We're talking about the budget.
But it was like a federal budget where he talked about. But if you don't find it, that's
Rest
cool.
of the nation, federal.
I threw out a wild card there.
It's a classic speech, but you've got 3.5 minutes.
That sounds about right.
But if you give your 3 minutes, if you give your 3.5 minutes to Brian has the floor for the speech that, and this will reach a far broader audience than what wasn't live streamed
So
from the meeting.
Before he does that, just to kind of clarify, so you have a Dairy Queen in the town.
I don't.
No, right. There's a Dairy Queen in the town on 40. There's a Dairy Queen on 220.
And the Bojangles.
Right. So each one of them will get a different tax.
No, what they want to do is put a 6% on all meals taxes. So every restaurant will now in the town only. And one of the things,
so there'll be a 6% increase on meals tax.
a 20% increase because it's 5% today, and now it's going to go to 6%. So
that is a 20%
increase in taxes.
So you'll get dual pricing
at the Dairy Queen on 40 though.
As long as it's in town limits, yes. If it's in the county, it's going to be 4%.
But the one on 220 won't. The one on 220 is not in the town limits.
Yes, it is.
up towards Boone's Mill.
No, it's not.
Oh. I'm sorry.
Wirtz.
On 220.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I was thinking 122. You were correct. That is in county. That's a 4%.
And you're already paying $15 for like a number 2 combo meal.
Yeah, I mean, inflation has hit.
So that's going to take it up to.
I mean, and that was one of the great points that Deborah Arrington made. Inflation has already taken hold. We're looking at like 15+% over the last 2 years. So the town is already benefiting from that increase in inflation because the meals tax is a regressive tax. It's applied equally across the board, but what that means is that it hurts the less fortunate the most. Because if you're making $1,000 and you get hit with a 6% tax on your food purchases, well, that's going to hurt. Mm-hmm. If you're making $1 million, you're going to say, it's really not that big a deal. And that's just
poor, just so the rich could be less rich.
Right. It's like, so who's paying their fair share? How about if they, I mean, I'm not proposing this, but what if they did your meals tax based on income? Kind of like in Finland or Norway, if you get a speeding ticket, the penalty isn't based on the chart that says, okay, if you go 5 miles over, it's this.
I think that's Norway.
You get hit with like, okay, you're making $200,000. Well, here's your bill.
And by the way,
because they want to make it painful. This is painful to the less fortunate.
A large pizza in Norway, and I know this for a fact, cost me, whilst I was going offshore from one chopper to another, $42.
$42 for a large pizza.
That's in Norway.
No, welcome to Rocky Mount.
But so, Brian, give us your speech, and then we'll take it from there.
All right, and forgive because I didn't use Grammarly, so there might be some. There might be spelling errors which you won't catch, but there might be some grammatical errors which I hope. Anyway,
you can cover it, Brian. Right. You're an intelligent guy.
So here's what I said: ad lib, not
smartest guy in the room.
First of all, that is not true. I am not. No. All right. This is what I did say. Council members, I've gone through the fiscal year 24 budget, attended your work sessions, and I respectfully request that you not vote on this budget until material changes are made. As presented, this proposed budget is simply a wish list of higher taxes and more spending without addressing basic operational deficiencies and excessive costs. In the budget, the town manager has proposed a 20% increase in meals taxes by moving the current rate of 5% to 6%. It should be noted that the meals tax is a regressive tax and hurts the less fortunate much harder. The median income in Rocky Mount is less than $25,000 a year. The last time the town raised the meals tax was in fiscal year 08. That was a 25% increase, moving the tax rate from 4% to 5%. Using fiscal year 2004 as a starting point, restaurant sales in the 3 years prior to the meals tax hike saw restaurant sales go up by an average of 5.62%. In fiscal year 05, it was 6.4%. In fiscal year 06, it was 4.91%. In fiscal year 07, it was 5.55%. In fiscal year 8, the year of the increase, the subsequent years, restaurant sales were essentially flat. Fiscal year 08, 0.1%. Fiscal year 09, 0.75%. And fiscal year 10, negative 0.76%. The town manager suggests that this increase will raise the revenue by $400K. In other words, the town manager knows that the hike will flatline or even depress restaurant sales and cost local jobs. Sadly, the town never saw a 3-year average increase of 5.62% in restaurant sales until fiscal year 22. In fact, a basic analysis shows that not even the harvester was able to overcome the damage done by the last hike in meals taxes. Please vote no on raising meals taxes. When it comes to the harvester, this budget shows that the town is currently spending over $7,000 per show above and beyond the basic operation of putting on shows. Based on the assistant town manager's numbers of 50 shows a year and roughly 275 guests per show, each ticket holder would have to spend over $500 at restaurants and hotels for each harvester ticket purchased so that it would be the engine, this is quote unquote, engine of economic development. It's simply not happening, and you're throwing good money after bad. The fiscal year 24 budget wants $680,000 for 75 shows, or roughly $9,000 per show. So it's going to cost more per show to have more shows. So much for the economies of scale. Keep in mind, the harvester was supposed to produce 180 shows a year, have 50,000 to 75,000 ticket goers, and be self-sustaining after 5 years, meaning the town wasn't going to provide any funding after 5 years. In actuality, year 5 was 2019, pre-COVID, and the harvester lost well over $600,000. We are now in year 10, and you're asking the town to pay more for less. Please do everyone a favor, save over $700,000 a year, and rent or sell the building. There are several other areas in this budget that need to be addressed. For instance, this council authorized the purchase of 60 acres. Where are the costs for environmental studies and debt servicing? Those numbers should be in this budget, and frankly, it's disingenuous that they are not. This means the real amount of spending by this council in this fiscal year will be in excess of $10 million. Also, there is no need for a grant writer. You can hire them on a commission basis at no cost to the town. Please remember, you have a fiduciary responsibility to the citizens and taxpayers of this town. Would you spend your money like this? Do not vote on this budget next week. It can easily wait until June's meeting. You need time to learn and understand what's really in the budget. Thank you.
Right.
So Simon, I got to jump in on this.
Let me catch one thing, because this will tie a few things together. We're looking at an additional tax revenue of $400,000 per annum from increasing this meal tax, assuming we maintain the current level of
restaurant sales.
Of restaurant sales. So the $400,000 is actually a key number. And I'm going to bring it in because it for a $5 million loan, interest only, for the 64 acres, at 5%, that would actually work out, strangely enough, to be $400,000 per annum. So this meals tax is going to, if you tie everything together, actually services the loan on interest only for 5 years. The problem is that the capital at 5 years is still outstanding. So you are you are, and I hate using this word, but it does actually apply here beautifully. You are kicking the can down the road for 5 years and supporting that endeavour, which quite frankly is madness. So I think they've been very disingenuous as to why they're promoting this increase in meal tax.
Correct. We don't know where the money is really intended.
Exactly. Well, I'm just putting two and two together. So it does loop in to this preposterous idea of commercial property development by the town, which they are not mandated to do, that they are now going to cover with an increase in meal tax. That's exactly what's happening here. And everyone should be, number one, appalled that this is going on. I don't think we should be looking to increase meal tax that crushes local entrepreneurs and businesses in the town to support a harebrained scheme of buying 64 acres of garbage. And when I say at $5 million, that is the tip of the iceberg, because the earth moving and whatever is required to be shovel ready to put foundations in. So it's $1,000 a yard to move earth. We know nothing about the tests that have been done on this ground. I don't think core samples have been taken, because the impacting of ground to support this sort of development is very specific. Now, and we know it's been a dumping ground and a marsh ad infinitum. So we know it's not going to pass a core test if they choose to do one.
We don't,
and that cost,
you don't know.
That cost is easily going to be $1 million+ just on ground preparation alone. And there's the madness. So this whole scheme it's a scam. Well,
it's not transparent enough.
Absolutely no.
Right? And, when it comes to the property, my initial thought was, Daleville Town Center. But we don't know what the plans are. That was my subjective thought. What I hear and see is that we've got to buy this property so we can study it and return it to private hands.
That's not how that works.
No, it's not.
Absolutely.
So the cart and the horse, which is first? The farmer, which goes first?
You don't buy land and then to study it and then give it back to private hands. That makes no sense to me.
And that's the messaging that I've heard, and I haven't seen the documents. This is where transparency is so critical.
Yeah.
So I do support the land purchase, but and I'm just going to be honest, I have self-serving reasons why. And we all,
Okay, absolutely. And I understand those.
And
I understand those. And here's a key question that I'll throw out there as well. Are there any liens on that property? And I'm particularly referring to any past tax due. And how has that been incorporated in the sales price? Because I'm a little bit suspicious, and excuse my cynicism, that the taxpayer is now actually going to be paying for the overdue outstanding tax on that property. And I don't know how that's being done, but it goes back to lack of transparency.
Transparency is key, and this is...
And we do not have it. We do not have it.
So, and that, again, I don't know. And so I think you like the word speculation.
Yeah, it's absolute
that
speculation.
That would be speculation, though, that until we know that if there is or is not.
Right.
So, Bryan, I have a couple questions for you just from your 3.5 minutes.
I think I took a little longer than that, but
so the town has been putting money into the harvester for it to run.
Correct.
And at year 5, that was supposed to stop.
It was supposed to stop. That was the pitch that the then town manager, assistant town manager, that was the pitch they made to council. And keep in mind, I'm here because of the harvester. But when I finally got to see how it was going to be or how it was being run, it was, what's the term? Anathema. I can't even say it. Anyway, totally everything against what I believe.
Antithetical.
So
No, that's not it.
Antithesis.
Nope.
Antithesis.
Nope.
Antithesis.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's
my
the opposite.
vocabulary sucks.
Antithesis is like
Now
the
I'm
direct
gonna,
opposite.
but it was supposed to. This is what the town was sold on. Remember, it was a 3-3 vote on the council, and Mayor Engel came in and voted in favor of the harvester.
Of it.
But
So I just kind of push it along. So you're number 5. It was supposed to be self-sustaining.
yeah.
So has it taken a loss every year since it started?
Oh, at an average of about $450,000
Okay.
a year.
So, and this is year number.
We're in year 10
Year
now.
10.
9 years was last week on the 24th of April, which I believe was 2014 when the Indigo Girls opened the doors.
And it's supposed to be a budget of how much of a loss this year?
Well, they want to spend $680,000 for 75 shows. Pre-COVID, they averaged about 130 shows. Post-COVID, they're looking at, well, less than 50 right now.
So let me ask you this. If you operated your restaurant like this has been operated, would that not qualify you for an IRS audit?
I would hope that I avoid an audit. I mean, no one wants an IRS audit.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is, I mean, that amount. So this thing has lost money or has not made a profit.
So it's a bit of a shell game here. So the harvester is solely owned by the EDA, the Economic Development Authority. I've got that document. Mm-hmm. It says, and the reason FOIAs, the reason I could go back and say what restaurant sales were because of FOIAs. Anyway, so the EDA owns the harvester, but when you try and FOIA harvester documents, the town assistant town manager, the FOIA officer, comes back and says the harvester is a private LLC formed under the laws of Virginia. Therefore, its documents are private or are not.
They're not for public domain, so there is absolutely.
But that's wrong.
Zero
because the
transparency.
EDA, which is recognized as a political body as part of the town of Rocky Mount, is a public organization. Everything they own should be public. And so I've got, unfortunately, the FOIA officer has not been truthful when it comes to releasing documents or withholding them.
But but I guess if you run your business the way that the harvester had been run, that would very well qualify you for an audit. I mean, they would see that. Let
me give you a great example because you're right. So I have a restaurant, and let's say I do $1,000 of business, but you are giving me $500 to run that $1,000 of business. So my tax return should show $1,500 of generated revenue, and then I can write off what I actually spend. Mm-hmm. But what the town did is they set this up. It's clever. Who knows what'll happen? But they have given the harvester $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 a year, and it still loses money. You can't make this stuff up. If I'm selling $1,000 worth of business and you give, if I do $1,000 worth of business, you give me $500. I actually made $1,500 of business, and if I'm still showing a loss, like it takes me $1,600. That's ridiculous. I mean, I'd be thrown out because I'm a bad business person, but the IRS would come in and say, "Hey, where'd this $500 come from?" Right? You just gave me $500.
Well, I did see here recently, not to go off subject too bad, but they did just recently announce Lewis Black would be coming and performing there. And I don't know how often a comedian comes and performs there, but that's one thing we have been pushing for is to get comedian acts to come in there to fill in some of those slots. They bring an audience. They bring people that want to come eat burgers and drink beers.
one great artist does not a successful venue make.
Not at all. But I'm just glad to see that they actually reached into a comedian. They're trying to.
I mean, we all saw the dig that the mayor took on me tonight. Hey,
that was a cheap shot.
The Harvester's open tonight. Yes, it is. One of 50 nights. So
365 days.
Once a week, right? Once a week, the Harvester is open. Yes, it's open 2 nights this week. I get it. It's great. I love it. It should be open 4 nights a week. It should be rocking and rolling, and it should be making money.
Now, you made a proposal a couple of weeks ago.
I did.
You want to briefly kind of go into that, because we're big supporters of that idea here for many reasons, obviously. But I think the locality, the town, the people should know that you have thrown this on the table for the town. Absolutely.
The proposal I made was for the town council to consider renting or selling the Harvester. And I did propose. I've got a team behind me. It's good. I know we're financially stable. But the most important thing is that it would say we would generate double the sales, have double the events, more than. So we would generate more tax revenue based on meals taxes at 5%. Please keep it to 5%. But it's such, we're talking you.
And the risk is no longer on the taxpayer.
The taxpayer shouldn't have to bear the burden. $680,000 for 75 shows. That works out to just over 6 shows a year. 6 shows a month. Not 6 shows a week. 3 shows a week. But when I came to town, it was supposed to be every other day. And I get there's a lot of work involved. But when you hire lazy people, you get lazy results.
Here's something I wanted to touch on, and I'm glad you're here, Bryan, because I'm sure you've tried to find this out. I can't. I'm trying to figure out where the rent for the Harvester has been paid, and because we're not seeing anything from the EDA or which little pot that goes in, are we seeing a current commitment to rent, which I understand was 50% was to go to town council, 50% was to go to EDA? Do we have any transparency with the rent coming in from the Harvester?
So back when BT Tax did the accounting for the Harvester, and great people, open, more transparent, right? They would put out the annual finances for the Harvester. So that went until COVID. Once COVID hit, the town used it as an excuse to hide. Anyway, rent was supposed to be $7,000 a month that the Harvester would pay for the property. So, of the $7,000 a month, all of a sudden, maybe 6 months were paid. Like I've got the bank records, and it only shows $84,000.
And it only ever shows 8,400, I believe.
No, wait a minute. And I'm sorry, I don't have those documents in front of me. They paid 6 or 8 months out of the 5 or 6 years of finances disclosed. It was
so
awful. They 2,000 in 1 year.
Not only have they absorbed $400,000 to $600,000 worth of annual income from the town, from the taxpayer,
right, but they never paid the rent.
But they have never actually paid the rent, and that to me. Where's the transparency there? Because you've got agreement. You were supposed to be free of funding from the town after 5 years.
After 5 years.
And there has been no rental revenue from this arrangement. So one has to ask the EDA what is going on here. But you can't. So, and now they want to put 64 acres of 5 million under EDA control. Do you really think that transparency and the same shell game is going to go into operation?
Well, if you can't control the Harvester and make it make money, I don't see how you're going to buy 64 acres and make it make money.
Well, the reason they're doing that is to increase the meal tax to fund 5 years of interest on a $5 million loan.
Yeah, and I got so at least one of the council members works for a bank, any proposal should be run through what a commercial lender would do, because I get public finance is a little different, but would you buy your house for $100,000, pay $50,000 in interest payments, and then still owe $100,000 on the house? The answer is no. Just dispense with the notion that you're being frugal or even responsible with other people's money. And that's what everything here is, other people's money.
And that's the root cause of the problem. They've got their hands in the cookie jar. But how do we backpedal from this? Because to me, the apathy that we saw at the public meeting today was pretty disappointing. And how do we encourage? I mean, to me, we've got to encourage the residents of the town to call up all of the council members and say, hell no.
Yeah.
And how do we do that? I mean, this podcast does have the reach to do that. But, we've got to stir these folks into and out of this apathy where, it's only 1%. Actually, no, it's 20%.
It's a 20% increase.
Okay.
And
it's hitting you, the lowest person on the totem pole, with an average income of $25,000 a year.
That's the median income.
Yeah, median income. Goodness gracious. So, if you're not calling up your counsellor and saying, we're watching you, we don't want you to do this, which is my question at the meeting was, and the only one I want answered, if they were bombarded with calls from the residents of Rocky Mount, would they adhere and abide by their residents' wishes? And that's all we have to do.
And that is the hardest. The word apathy hits a nerve. Apathy kills.
Yep.
If you don't care, if you don't pay attention, it's going to catch up with you, and you're going to be the victim of your own ignorance.
Yeah,
and that's I hate to say this, but you all voted for the council members that are there. There were 4 seats up, and 4 seats have been now set. And there's a stark difference from what was said during the campaign to what's happening today.
Very different.
And look, I'm a restaurant owner. I'm worried about, if there's a flat line in sales, or even if it goes down, I've got to let people go. Right? It's just the nature of business.
And those people come to work for you to supply a home, food.
For their kids.
Families.
Yep, for their families. Right? And so, this is the hardest thing. Taxing, if you're going to tax somebody, you better have a real purpose for where the funds are going. And this budget it's a joke. I'm sorry. But they're also, the council members are getting set up. There's 6 council members. They vote on the budget. Right? Mayor doesn't vote on the budget.
Right.
The mayor may like or not like this budget, but he doesn't get a say unless there's a 3-3 tie.
Can you name all 6 council members?
Yeah.
Please do.
You got Ralph Casey, David Clements, Billy Stockton, Mark Newbill, Tyler Lee, and one other.
Ben
Mullins.
Ben Mullins. Damn it.
So,
I can't believe I forgot.
You nearly had it. You nearly had it. So my
Wait a minute, I did have one other.
My urge to everyone that's listening and a resident of Rocky Mount is to not just call the guy that you know, please call all 6 of them.
Yeah.
And make your voice heard, because at this point you're about to take a 20% increase on your cost of living when it comes to feeding you and your family.
Yeah.
And so get off your ass, pick up a bloody phone is all you've got to do, and you can influence how this goes down.
And if you think about it, 2% is a huge difference between the county and the town. So now all of a sudden,
you've got dual pricing just up the road.
Why not just go there? Hey, I'm just going to, we all saw what happened during Bud Light. You don't think that taxing is offensive?
Yeah.
You know, taxing is the Dylan Mulvaney of Bud Light. You know,
Yeah. Out of curiosity, how
That's a great analogy, by the way.
How have the Anheuser-Busch sales went at your place? Just out of curiosity.
They tanked. In all honesty, we didn't buy for 3 weeks in a row because we had so much in stock. We used to go through about 8 cases a week, and now we're below 2 cases a week. So we just reduced. And this is the first week we're buying. So we used to buy 8 cases a week. This week, tomorrow, the email goes out to our distributor. We need 1 case just to have, because we're down below a certain threshold. But, the sales dropped off. But Miller Lite, Miller High Life, Coors Light, yep. Yingling,
maybe.
And PBR. Now all of a sudden I have to up the purchases of those to make up for the difference.
Direct impact.
It is a direct impact.
So,
and this is what I fear with a higher tax.
This phone call, these 6 phone calls that these residents can make, 6 phone calls can change that trajectory.
It needs to be 7.
Well, no, not really.
Yes, it does. It needs to be 7 because if it comes down to a 3-3 tie, the mayor needs to understand and know where the people of the town are. So it needs to be 7.
Okay, I'll run with that. I'll call them all up. 7 phone calls, folks. Please make them, because your financial future, really, I'm not going to say it's on the line. I mean, everyone goes, it's just a 20% on the cost for me, going out and getting a dinner.
I can tell you this much. If they pass it, I will not spend money in Rocky Mount at any restaurant other than 2 places.
Can I be one of those places?
You are one of those places. As
There
long as you don't cut Trinity loose.
Well, it has
I'm
to
watching
be,
you back, girl.
As a sponsor of the show and as a co-host, you pretty much. I mean, come on now.
Does that affect the food trucks as well?
Missed it.
Well, that would be if they actually if they enforce business licenses to the food trucks. Food trucks can collect.
I'm being
taxes,
facetious right now, right?
And so am I to an extent. But yes, this is where the town needs to actually do what it's supposed to do first. And it needs to, in this case, food trucks. Yes, there are some great food. I love food trucks. I personally don't want them on public property where the town owns it. But then again, I need the town to step up and actually do its job and enforce business licensing and taxation. Food trucks collect the meals tax. They need to remit them.
Because they weren't remitted from that one show that they held at the Harvester, whenever it was.
No, and I've identified other instances where they did not remit, and I'm the bad guy for reporting it. Yeah, so I tattled on them. Big deal. I pay a crap ton of tax. I remit a crap ton of taxes. I don't have to pay them because you all pay them. I just want you to pay less.
Right. I mean, it needs to be a level playing field and transparent. And it is neither of those two.
No, actually,
and that is shocking.
Food trucks should have to have a placard in their window that says they're authorized to be at such a location on such a date. That's
standing practice.
As a standing practice, if you're doing any construction, you have to have a building permit, and it has the information. Do the same thing with food trucks. It's easy. Well, it should be easy.
You would have thought.
So I noticed you have some more papers here in your hand.
I do. The town council, the council members, not the mayor, the 6 council members, they're in control.
Are they?
Well, they should set. Here's the spending limit, and then have the town manager create a budget. The 6 members should create what are the priorities, not be told what the priorities are. They should create the priorities.
The cart is leading the horse.
So just to clarify that, the town manager, is he selected?
He was hired.
So he's hired.
He's hired. And
he's hired by who?
By the town council.
Okay. So yes, the town council is in control because we voted them in, or the town folk voted them in. So the town manager should put forth a plan, and the town council members have control over what should happen with it. They can say, no, go back and redo it. We're not doing that to the people.
Well,
And
there's
you
the
should.
cart.
They
The
are
cart
in
is
control.
the cart. The
cart's
cart
in-
is leading the horse.
Yeah.
And that's a big problem that I think we've got throughout local government, whether that's the town council, the board of supervisors,
That's not just
the
local
school board.
government.
It's the administrators behind all of these public functions that appear to be leading the elected officials, and it should be the other way round. And we need to hold our councilmen and our board of supervisors and our school board members accountable, so that is how it works.
Have you ever seen a bulldog chase a hot dog?
I can't say I have.
But you've used a term that I thoroughly enjoy hearing you say.
What was that?
Chase the carrot.
Yes, it's well, they should be leading with a carrot and not beating with a stick.
Well, part of the budget as well, to kind of go off topic a little bit, was an increase in salary as well, I guess, to go with the cost of living, which would be, in my honest opinion, is absolutely abhorrent. Now,
Yeah.
if you want, the people,
Especially why the town manager's salary
If
is
you-
created.
My cost of living's going up, and I'm not getting an increase in pay.
look, if the person who is making sure our drinking water is clean and hopefully not dumping fluoride in it wants an increase in pay, if the guy's going to come out here and load garbage bins or something like that, if they need a little increase for cost of living, I'm fine with that. If you're part of the management of this town and
You're making
you
six
are proposing to give yourself an almost $10,000 increase if you're in certain positions when the town is $5 million in debt, please explain to me what justifies a pay increase for you. Nothing. Get the town running right before you decide to because you're right now making like 5 times more than the average citizen in this town makes anyway, so you don't really need that much money to live here.
So
and
you're making how much?
what's the town manager make? 100 and
He currently makes 150.
so the proposed
the
increase would go
average
up to like 160 or something.
It's less than 25.
It's
The
less
median.
than
The
20.
median.
So $25,000 is what the
He's
town-
making 7 times more than the
Seven.
average household, and so you don't need a pay increase, especially if
To do what?
if the town is still treading water.
So hang about.
What does his job entitle? What is his job?
Well, he manages the town.
He manages the town government, yes.
So his increase equates to a little less than 50% of everybody's median salary.
Yeah, 10,000.
Right.
I mean,
If you equate it to
7%
median
of
income.
150 is going to be about 10K.
Yeah.
Right. So a
And so
10K
that's-
represents a little less than 50% of a median
Right,
person's
40%.
income. So, I hope that sinks in.
But, and actually, all right,
Let's let you do
I need
these.
to
papers.
read. This is off of the employment agreement, folks. If you don't understand the Freedom of Information Act, please start to learn a bit. Use it. I have 70, 80 FOIA requests that have been answered. So when I was pulling out,
How many
information-
haven't been?
What answered? The one that I really want is there was a forensic financial audit of the harvester, and I have been told I will never see it. And when I'm told that I will never see it, I'm sitting there like, what are you hiding?
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
And here, the 2 reasons, they gave 2 reasons why we'll never see it. And it's not just me that FOIA'd it, others have, but they get the same response. First of all, they use client attorney privilege to hide the forensic financial audit. The auditor is a finance guy. I've looked him up. I have the town spent over $15,000 on him, but he's on LinkedIn. Nowhere does it say he has a law degree. He is not an attorney. He's a finance guy, but that is their reasoning.
That's their go-to, is it?
That's the first. The second one, they say they cite a Virginia statute about some administrative investigation. The kicker is, if you go actually look up the statute that they've cited, it says that there's an active administrative investigation. There is no active The 6 council members need to understand this. They're being played just like I am, but it's funny. But I've been told I'll never see the fiscal financial audit. I believe because of a former town employee that there's a bank account out there, and I'm sorry, it's rumor only, but at the meeting it was disclosed. All of a sudden, the town manager shut the meeting down. So there are so many questions. And again, coming back, Harvester ticket sales don't go to the town's treasury. It goes to another bank account. Who has access to this bank account? Who can write checks? Who can see checks? All the different things. Trust but verify. Too much. Anyway, so let me read section 4, salary for the town manager. This was obtained through a FOIA request, and it's for the current town manager, only because we were so disgusted with the former town manager's compensation. All right. This is from a FOIA. The town agrees to pay the manager for his services for the period of employment beginning May 1, 2021, at a rate of $140,000 annually, payable in installments at the same time as other employees of the town. Thereafter, unless the town council indicates otherwise, pay adjustments shall be governed by the same pay increase conditions as all other town employees. This agreement must be automatically amended to reflect any salary adjustments that are provided or required by the town's compensation policies. The town agrees to increase the compensation each year by at least the average across-the-board increase, step, cost of living, etc., granted to other employees of the town. So,
He doesn't get a raise unless the other town employees gets one.
No, who controls the pay of the other town employees?
The town
I'm
manager.
guessing it's the town manager.
I'd be guessing the same thing too.
So you want a $10,000 increase? You raise everybody by 7%.
There you go.
That's what your contract says.
That's what hit. Not mine.
No.
Well, actually, this is the contract the town agreed to. Again, I think he was sleeping at this meeting today. But town attorney, former mayor. They wrote this. It's garbage. The town council needs to say, here are your objectives. If you meet them, this is going to be your pay. If you don't meet them, this is going to be your pay. If you fail miserably, we're getting rid of you.
Yeah, it should be that
could there
simple.
have been a new?
That's simple.
Since that was FOIA, could there have been a new?
Yes, there could be. And I have another document that's even scarier because it came up again through FOIA. And yes, if it has been updated, it would be a problem. It would not be a problem.
We could FOIA that though.
We should, yeah. I'll have somebody clue in on getting it.
Okay.
I don't want the cat out of the bag. Also, so I FOIA'd town salaries, and
Why should we have to FOIA that? Should that not be on the website
That should be
readily
public
available
record.
for public record?
it should be. I live in Greensboro, and every year there's a publication called the Rhino Times, and they publish every city employee's salary. Every year. They just put it out there. And if you track history, you'll have different numbers, and you'll be able to see what it is. But, sorry.
Take a breath. And in with the good, out with the bad.
Okay. There are employees that the town no longer needs to. They no longer require the services.
That says the town manager, number one.
That would
chopping
be
block.
on my list.
That would be top on my list.
But this one is of particular interest. I don't know if I've ever met him in person. I know he knows who I am, and I know who he is. But in December of 2020. The town council was presented with a reorganization of the police department. It had to do it that second. It had to eliminate the roles of the 2 lieutenant positions, lieutenant positions, and create a captain position. And they were told that by doing so was going to make the police department more effective and save the town $22,000 a year. Okay. So what did they do? Well, Well, first they railroaded out the other lieutenant. At the time, there were 2 lieutenants in the town. They railroaded one of them out. The second one gets promoted to captain. His name is Mark Lovern. I don't know if he's a good guy, bad guy. I know who he is, and I'm sure he knows who I am.
So now we have 2 captains?
No, we just have 1 captain position, no lieutenants, but we had to do this because it was of the utmost importance. Remember, this goes back to the Chief Kreiner days, and God, Lord, oh boy.
No, so this is the whole mess that a former guest of ours who came back on during our political run when you first came on, who sat in that chair right there, he had about 2 or 3 websites out there that were dedicated to these officers, correct?
Oh, absolutely. And, a beautiful thing. You can't find those websites online unless you use what's called the Wayback Machine, and all of those are still there. So check out the Wayback Machine. It's kind of funny because, yes, I was surprised that they were removed, but, it happens. Okay, so in June of 2020, the lieutenant of patrol made essentially round up $66,000. 2 years later, as captain, police captain, he made almost 92.5. So, wow. I mean, that's almost a $30,000 increase, 27.5.
In 2 years.
In 2 years. But then it gets better. Because guess what? The police department has 2 lieutenants again. So the same, and there's 3 or 4 of them on town council. They were told, they know that in December 2020, they had to vote this at that one meeting. No public hearing, no nothing. Had to make this restructuring.
For what purpose? Was it a municipality thing?
Because the cynic in me would say that they were grooming Mark Lovern to be the chief of police.
He's a super nice guy, actually.
And he may be. I don't think I've ever met him in person. I know who he is. I'm pretty confident he knows who I am. But at the same, I'm like, he knows the inner workings of the police department. And I'm sorry, Chief Kreiner, anathema. Is that the word? Damn, how do I look that word up, please? I gotta find it myself. Anyway,
I fear Simon was the smartest in the room.
You mean the enigma?
No, I'm looking. This is twice. I needed the same word, and I fucked it both up. Anyway, but you're talking about essentially what benefit did the town get by having a captain of police? 0.
So, but this doesn't, and I'm not going to knock the captain of police at all. I know the guy. I've met him many years ago. I think at Callaway Elementary.
But I don't think we're not knocking any.
But the mechanics
so
behind what's going on is the issue.
Town council was led by the nose to say, "Hey, we got to make this reorg. Can't happen any other day but December's meeting 2020. Has to happen now."
So the credibility now of the administration, which is where it's ultimately going to come back to. The credibility of the administration has to be in question yet again. That has had a serious negative impact financially on the taxpayers and residents of Rocky Mount.
So, do we have any idea of why? Do we have any idea of why it had to happen that day?
Oh, it was a ruse. This is where it's the previous town manager. I don't know what his actual dealings were with the previous chief of police, but something was going on. They made the change only to, in less than a year and a half after making the structural change to the org, bring back 2 lieutenants at a cost of over $150,000 to the town.
Yeah.
Where it was supposed to save them by making a captain $22,000.
I mean, it's the same mechanics with the creation of the assistant town manager in a municipality that has absolutely no criteria for that position.
Well, I think it's important for people to understand also, like, as Chris stated, like, we're not knocking individuals. The same as when we talk about the education system, I'm not knocking the teachers. We're not saying we want the Department of Education abolished and state schools abolished. Doesn't mean I want all your teaching jobs abolished. That means I want the market to be able to dictate which teachers teach children and which teachers don't. And that way we get the bad ones out and the good ones will flourish. Our kids will be much smarter. And if you are a good one, then you're going to make a whole hell of a lot more money than you ever did working for the government. And if you're a bad one and you're offended, then piss off. I don't care anyway. Same goes with the police. Like, I don't besmirch anybody that's willing to go out there and put themselves on the line for whatever purpose that may be. What I do have a problem with is that high of a salary for a town that just doesn't justify it. This isn't Chicago. This isn't even Collinsville or Martinsville. I mean, you don't need all this police in this town. You don't need all this money going towards these police. And I mean, making that kind of money when guys in Baghdad right now are making like a quarter of that, it just doesn't make any sense at all. Let's leave the policing up to the sheriffs and the deputies. And that way there is some accountability there. And the good ones will shine, the good ones will rise, and the good ones will get voted in and out. You know, if we're going to police,
well, there's a reason why that we have a town police force, and I still don't know the intricacies of it.
Simon, I mean, we can talk about that in just a minute. I'm interested for him to finish this.
So let me hit this up real quick.
I'm sorry, I apologize for.
No, we're good. So I FOIA'd town salaries 3 times. And it just gives you've got basically a starting point and where you're at. And this is before the increases are about to hit. So I'm just going to read off some highlighted positions. And so in June of 2020, the assistant town manager was making $91,000. In August of 22, $115,500, a 27% increase.
In 2 years.
In 2 years. So it's come down. So individual we just talked about, lieutenant of patrol, 66,000. And in 2 years, we're up to 92,000, a 40% increase. You can hit things like a foreman was making 57,000, now making 67,000, a 17.34% increase. I mean, these are nuts.
In 2 years.
Yeah. Sergeant of patrol, going from a police officer to a sergeant of patrol, 41,000 up to 56,000, a 36% increase. You know, and I have the whole list. The green in the you can't see it on the radio, obviously, but the greens are those people who are still here. The yellows are new employees, and then there were a few people who have left. A couple of people at the harvester, well, you know, highly overpaid. But when you look at these numbers, you know, average increase, 43.7, 40.2, 18, 55, 15, 27%, 15%, 17%, 15%, 15%, 55%, 27%, 30%, 18%, 37%. I mean, that over 2 years, that is the salary increase.
And where are you seeing the?
Can I see that?
The comparable private sector is, you know, how do you justify that?
So I think people need to understand. My background obviously is not restaurants. I suck at it. It takes really good people.
You're doing a pretty darn good job, actually.
No,
Bryan.
I have a great team. I am so excited about who I have.
Well, hey, Bill Belichick is recognized for putting together a good team. He doesn't know every single position on the field, but he knows how to put together a good
He's a
team.
lot smarter than me.
So there you go.
But my
look at me. Look at the team I put together.
So can I just share something with y'all?
Look.
Oh, hold on. What do you got?
I was looking at this paper, and the assistant finance director / treasurer, 2 years was 43.69% increase.
And wait a minute. What? Is that I don't think I have names there, but
no,
that position, all right. If that position was worth its weight in anything, when Linda Woody retired, and she was actually forced out, but when she retired, you would have made that person the head of finance, the director of finance. Instead, the director of finance was brought in from the outside, who had retired from the Franklin County government and is now double dipping on he's getting the retirement, plus he's got this great plush job at $100,000+. But if you're not going to promote the assistant director, get rid of the person, because obviously they're not ready for the next job. It's the same. He found another.
So I just want y'all to understand the full concept, and this is why I asked for this. So that was the finance/treasurer. The wastewater plant superintendent got an increase of 15.6%. Wastewater plant operator, 15.6%.
I get like a 2.5% raise every year. I mean, this is absurd.
But
wouldn't
you
be more apt to give the guy
who's got clean drinking water,
more of a raise than you would be the finance director/treasurer?
Absolutely.
Dude, this is nuts looking at this paper.
Here's what I'm
wastewater plant operator.
Who's dictating this? I'm assuming this is the town manager, right? But it has to be approved by the council. But all they've done in the past is just go, aye. Oh yeah, that's approved. Aye. And it just goes down the thing that I've been harping on about for months and months and months, if not years.
Here's an interesting one.
Their hands in the damn cookie jar.
You've got maintenance 3, water plant operator, maintenance 3 again, water plant operator. I don't even know what that word is. I can't half read it.
Oh my Lord.
Well, but this is what I got back from the thing. So wait a minute.
Here's what I got to ask Simon and just off kilt real quick. How devastated are you to learn that they're just tossing around money like it grows on trees, and they have yet to come to us and ask us to be the official government indoctrinated voice of the town of Rocky Mount? Why haven't they come and offered? Are we not worth $130,000 each to come on and promote the town of Rocky Mount?
I think that would be lost on them.
I tell you what, whoever these positions are supposed to make this town better are making an exorbitant more amount of money than you and I are, and I guarantee you they haven't done as much to promote this town and to bring people in here and just as we have. You know what I mean? It's a job to them. It's a passion for us. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
What sense does this make? Why haven't you offered us taxpayer-funded opportunities? I'm looking at you, town of Rocky Mount and Franklin County. With Simon and I, we should be the voice. You know what we're going to do with that stolen taxpayer money you pay us? We're going to turn right back around and invest it right back into the community.
Oh, is this the Robin Hood principle?
From the people you took it from. Absolutely.
This is the Robin Hood principle.
Absolutely. If Robin Hood was an American, I'm pretty sure Rob Sherwood Forest is in some fruity little England town or something.
Now, the irony here, actually, which I find you will find infinitely amusing, is that one of my direct relatives going back to the, I think, 14 or 1500s was actually a sheriff of Nottingham.
Nice.
Did he get his britches pulled down by Robin Hood?
Well, it wasn't in that era, which I think was allegedly around the 1100s. But I think it was 1100 and something, which was
but wait,
the line.
what's the central theme there? You tax the people too much, and you destroy their lives.
MI6.
MI6.
He's a Fed boy for sure.
Yes.
But you know what?
Is he a plant in Rocky Mount?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, and I know that he makes his living being the warden of a government indoctrination center, and then the other half of his time he spends picking his guitar on the corner of Hirschberger and Williamson. But he did bring up an interesting point one time and said he's pretty sure Simon is CIA. Now, once I brought that to light on a podcast, he also sent me a text message saying, "How dare you?" Yes,
heavily.
absolutely. But look, I mean, let's be honest about it. And I was actually talking to Bryan. He's one of Spike Cohen's guys today, and I was explaining Simon to him, and I said, "We're all pretty sure he's a Fed, but we think Stockholm Syndrome has taken over and he has now fallen in love with his captors. So he came in here looking to expose us, and we red-coated a red coat. You know what I mean? Like, we turned...
Snow to snowman.
Exactly. So now Simon is actually one of us.
And you think we're a bunch of dumb
He was
kids.
once like a Ray Epps, but now he's a...
I don't even know. I mean, if you go back and listen, and I implore anybody and everybody, go back and listen to every show we've pretty much done since October, and then before that, go back and find the Simon episodes. If you don't think this dude is on some kind of other level that we can't comprehend, piece all the stories together one by one. Just piece them all together. You know, hanging out with Paul McCartney. I mean, Elvis was CIA because he could get into anywhere, and because he was well renowned.
Let me just give you a
Simon.
Wait a minute.
anything about racing.
Elvis was a whack job in some respects when it came to that super spy stuff.
This is a whack job in most respects. I mean, racing, you name it. Music, legendary. Sports,
Professional rugby. I mean,
name it.
he's yachted boats. I mean, he's dove in places. He's got a wife that's far better looking than anything he probably could have normally ever pulled.
You know what? I can testify
reeks.
that. I've met her.
That reeks of
She's
the
a beautiful
Americans.
lady, and I looked at you, and you were unshaven, not looking the part, and of course, it was at Walmart, so therefore, I'm like, people of Walmart, yes, Simon.
There we go.
There you go. Like,
I'll tell you,
how is this guy with this girl?
I've got a feeling this is a hit job. What is going on here?
We're all wondering the same. I mean, it's one day I hope, and this is why I need each and every one of you to go to patreon.com/getontap and subscribe, or go to any of our Venmo or Cash App at Get on Tap and provide this, because I want to be able to spend more time here at the house investigating these things, going back through the episodes and piecing all these Simon stories together. Because once if I was to go edit and cut out every Simon story and then make its own episode, you would not believe it. You wouldn't believe it.
I got to take a small tangent. You would be the only one that would actually probably understand the gravity of it. So I got tickets last week to Chelsea Wrexham.
Oh, yes.
And if you could see the body language, right?
Oh, yes.
Have you been watching the Wrexham docuseries?
I haven't. You see, everyone assumes that I've played soccer and
Wait.
That was
Whoa. That's
football.
a Freudian. Oh, that was a Freudian
yes,
slip.
it was. I've been here way too long. I've been here too long.
I told you we've turned him. We've turned him. MI6 CIA, whatever he is.
Stockholm Syndrome takes effect.
We got him.
I love soccer.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Which
So
you
I'm a
use the
rugby
accent
guy.
when you say soccer.
Soccer. But if I was going to support any of the Premier League sides, now it's funny you should say and bring up Chelsea as well. I remember when I was maybe 5 or 6 years old, my grandfather bought me the full Chelsea kit, and I'd sleep in it. So, you know, and ever since then, I've had an affinity, because Chelsea was probably one of the closer clubs to my part of town, you know, down in the depths of the country the countryside of Surrey. Chelsea was probably my team. If I was going to put my money anywhere, it would be, and my loyalty and my support, it would be Chelsea. Chelsea Football Club, absolutely. But I'm not. I'm a rugby guy.
Okay, but I've got tickets. I'm going.
Nice.
Chapel Hill. And I'm excited.
Oh, yeah.
And Wrexham, I got to say, when you see people who have the right motives,
Yeah.
they bought a soccer team. This is Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. I'm not familiar with Rob's work. Love Deadpool. Probably one of the most brilliant pieces of movies.
Hold on, we're talking Ryan Reynolds Deadpool.
Yes.
Not a big movie guy anymore. Definitely not a big comic book guy. One of the best movies I've ever seen in my life.
It's brilliant.
Phenomenal.
And supposedly he took years and years to pitch his Deadpool version of Deadpool or whatever. Anyway, but if you watch the whole intent, they are totally hands-on. And this is what I want town council to do. Hands on the harvester, Get involved. Understand. Don't take somebody's word for it. See the documents. But Wrexham, they got to League Two, which is the fourth division of of the English Premier or English Soccer League.
Well, the Premier League is, you see, they changed all of this around, and it was normally Division 1, which is now the Premier League.
The Championship League, which is the next one down.
Right.
And then I think it's League 1 and League 2. So Wrexham got promoted to League 2. It's possible in 3 or 4 years they could be in the EPL.
It's huge. It's huge.
Exciting.
I mean, when you get those little teams that come up, there was one particular team, and I cannot remember. They would always have an FA Cup run. And for some reason, and it was a podunk, middle of nowhere, small town side that used to nobble the Giants.
And people took them for granted, and they showed up to play.
They loved them. You know, and it was that's the classic line from that Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves movie. It's
the Kevin Costner
but
one?
the Robin Hood, but sire,
Men in Tights.
they love him.
I love that one. That one was Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks,
the best. I love that movie growing up. That was Dave Chappelle before he got big. Was in that movie.
Yeah.
Hold on, man. Let me air my pumps up.
Yeah. Hey, Blinken. Did you say a Blinken? No, I said, hey, Blinken.
Okay, so a couple other points I have, and then I gotta jump. Really, town manager, I like him personally. I don't agree with some of the things he does, but he's a nice guy. But the town council needs to change the contract to say this is what your compensation is going to be.
Yeah.
Not based on what you can bequeath to others.
Yeah, it becomes
It's self-serving.
Yeah, it's very self-serving.
Right?
Yeah.
So he wants a $10,000 raise. He says, hey, that's 7%. Oh, we'll just give everyone else a 7% raise.
Bingo, look what happens.
You know?
Yeah,
And
you can't have that.
I would love the town manager use some terminology like, we want to hire and retain the best and brightest.
That should be the policy of every company, whether private
it
or
should be.
public.
But every company also has to look in as like, who are the A players, who are the B players, and who are the C players. The A players, you enable them to continue to succeed. The B players, you move them to become A players, and the C players, you get.
Yeah, it's called a farm system.
It is a farm system, and
Yep.
so they should relegate them to the private sector, the C players, right? So they have, and he's going through the list. There are too many C players.
I think, in all honesty, he's probably trying to figure out how to read it, but we'll let him keep. He's not listening. He's not listening, so just keep going.
But anyway,
so somebody tell him what an A is.
not everyone is the best and brightest. It's just impossible.
No, that's what you need to strive for.
Right? So when I came to town and people told me I need to get rid of people, I had to separate what was personal and what was professional.
Yeah, tough decisions.
Right? And then I will say, I've had to part ways with different people. And if I was the one that's parting ways, believe me, it took a long time because I had to go and make sure that what I was being told was correct. And if you left me, I hope you go to greener pastures.
Yeah, that's like good luck. I mean, I'm not wishing you ill will, but we're a bad fit. Sorry.
That's fine.
Have a wonderful time. Good luck. But we're now at the point where we're seeing some financial irresponsibility with what is being awarded. And the only reason they're getting away with it is because it's taxpayer money. And it's always been my issue is we need to have a greater transparency with taxpayer money and how it's used, more so than anywhere else. Because it's very easy to spend somebody else's money and not have any accountability for it. And so the transparency that we don't have right now is feeding this madness of 40% increases, 30% increases on already significant wages. So those
ridiculous wages.
Well,
Majority of them are
It
ridiculous.
depends on the role.
The majority of them are
It depends on
ridiculous.
the role.
I'm sorry. The assistant town manager who makes more than county administrators, town managers, that position.
It's preposterous.
Would he ever be hired as the town manager? And the answer is no. We know it.
Well,
So
these are
why
down to
would you
credentials as well. I mean, the
there's no
credentials.
potential there.
Well, and now you've got to look at the EDA, and that they're now, coming into the public sector with some huge responsibilities with debt servicing and taking on projects and growth. Where are their credentials? Because where are they being appointed from?
Yeah.
This does not bode well. What we currently have is a very dangerous system that, quite frankly, the taxpayer is going to get absolutely shafted.
Well, we need to start figuring out, during these last few sessions we've sit and listened to, and they're trying to figure out ways to do this or do this to make it. Might have to increase taxes here or do this there. No, you need to start cutting. Cut. Find these jobs, find these positions that are unnecessary and cut them. Cut the fat, get rid of them. Stop being in the game of also, I think the meeting, the one we went to last week, they were talking about funds they had set aside for what they wanted to do with Ferrum College and funds set aside where people can call in and request funds and stuff like, look, if we've got it like that, then we don't need to really have it like that at this moment in time because we're in debt. How many millions of dollars right now? $5 million. We shouldn't be in the game of saying, well, we'll have this money set aside for Ferrum. No, let's get to the point to where we're operating in the green, and then we can start talking about maybe having this money for Ferrum College or having this money set aside for that, or maybe increasing our town manager's salary. Because you know what? You cut the assistant town manager position and you run a clean ship. And we're operating in the green, and the harvester has people here every single night because you've actually given it to the person on a private side who's going to do. You have the town running in
Someone
the green.
who's going to risk
their
money instead of your money.
We have tourism dollars coming in here. Then yes, you know what, town manager, maybe you can command $160,000, $170,000 because you are the leader.
Because you're generating
because
it.
you're generating it. If you're not generating it, you don't deserve it.
Yeah.
You probably need to be taking cuts. And until you do get it on the positive, then that's just part of your position. You don't come in here and just say, well, we're lackluster once again, but time for our annual, 11% increase where I can now make, 9 times more than our average household because their increase in pay only went up 2%. It's ridiculous. Start cutting. Let me
make a point here that has struck me. It struck me earlier, and I didn't write it down, or I didn't put it in the public forum. This property deal of 64 acres is being sold to us as though we need to have, because there's a demand for housing in Rocky Mount with local industry and what have you, there's a demand for this housing project. And I've got to call bullshit on that because it's got nothing to do with the demand for employees. It's got everything to do with putting people in houses within your revenue district to increase your tax revenue from a property tax point of view. So the whole concept behind this property speculation is about increasing tax revenue for the town, which I totally get. You've got to do that, but not the way they're doing it.
Not at the expense of everybody else that's already here.
And that's using taxpayers' money and massive amounts of debt to support it.
Yeah,
so
we haven't seen the actual debt plan.
Right. And there is no debt plan.
We've heard a proposal, and I just hope that somebody who might work for a bank would actually take the proposal and get a professional's opinion, because it is obvious. We've seen it before. The administration leads the council by the nose, and
that's the wrong way around.
It is.
And they're being rewarded for creating debt. Okay, and that to me is absolutely 100% upside down.
And the scariest thing we heard in the first work session was that the town currently has $5 million in debt,
and they could get
$50 million.
So where do you think that's going?
So who pays $50 million?
Yeah.
Right? And if you don't think DC is out of control, Wait, no, you have to think.
Well, we know DC is out of control.
We know it is,
Absolutely.
right? All right, so real quick, I gotta hit a couple points. Last year's budget was $7.5 million. $7.5 million for a town of less than 5,000, right? The proposed budget 1 year later is $8.7 million, right? So a 16.5% increase, and it does not include the studies or the debt servicing. The proposal
That's 64 acres.
on the 60. We heard a proposal to move 1.2
Yeah,
million
1.2
to
million.
the EDA. That is an expense. That should be in the budget.
Yeah. And that is to service.
And they already know. Like, they've already seen the presentation. So the 6 council members should say, hey, can I actually see that in the budget?
Yeah. I mean, they're playing a shell game because I understand. And the $400,000 number is a critical number to understand in the longer term. And when I say longer term, 5 years shouldn't be considered longer term. But that's where we're going. So 1.2 million will fund the first 5 years of that interest-only loan.
Scary.
And that's scary.
0 going to principal.
0 goes to principal. And now you've got an increase in meal tax that will create an additional revenue potentially of $400,000. Please don't lose the sight of how important this $400,000 number is.
And let's go to the track record.
Yes.
The harvester
Absolutely.
was supposed to be self-sustaining after 5 years.
Yeah. And now we're at year
0.
10 and we're funding 670,000 worth of debt.
Novel concept. Rent or sell the harvester and show the town that you actually have the intent with the 60 acres.
Yep.
It's
Well,
it's a no-brainer.
I don't think that is a developable plot.
Well, we don't know. That's the problem.
We
have
don't
to.
know.
So-
We don't know.
And like self-serving.
Yeah,
I like the.
I get it.
But I also like the concept of a Daleville town center. And I haven't seen this being promoted by the town, but that was my initial response. I thought, hey, wow, that would be pretty cool. Everyone says they want a Cracker Barrel. Okay, great. You got a Starbucks, Cracker Barrel. What's the other one?
I want a Dunkin' Donuts.
No.
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A. Bring us a Chick-fil-A and we might shut up.
Now, Chick-fil-A would probably do some damage to my sales. But you know
But the
what?
increase in
I'd
the
be doing
property
damage
tax
myself
of-
because I would go there.
I mean,
our biggest thing is, we want to see our town grow. We know that it has to grow. It can't
absolutely.
be stagnant, but it shouldn't be burdened by the taxpayers.
It should not be funded by the taxpayer.
And you don't want to. Debt financing is the worst.
Yeah. And this is the road they're going down.
I mean, if we ran our households like this,
We'd be thrown in jail.
But that's the thing. So, and that's what people need to implore the people to call the town council members. Would you actually finance your lifestyle this way? And if you were of the means,
would you do it?
I don't think I could sleep at night. I couldn't sleep at night knowing that I'm putting off the inevitability and maintaining my same capital debt stance within 5 years, whilst blowing $400,000 a year on a debt to service, and then still having that same 5 million, which by the way is going to be probably close to 6 to 7 million by the time all the groundwork has been done. So, and you haven't even touched on that aspect of it. No. So it just blows my mind that this is
not to mention,
fundamentally irresponsible.
Not to mention, there's a 30% proposed increase on the county.
Well, this is another matter that I'm sure the podcast is going to get down, because I just don't know how on earth you do that.
So you're not only taxing.
We have seen how on earth it's done, and it's when you have the ability to print money.
Yeah, this is where we're at, and now it's filtered down, right?
So people need to.
How does? I mean, is there a printing press at 345 Donald? No.
So people need to understand.
But they
you're
can
going to
get
get
$50 million
increase.
of debt, though. That's how far they can go.
But people need to understand that live outside of the county. This is a double whammy. So you're going to possibly
outside of the town.
I'm sorry. Yeah, outside of town. You're going to get a possibility of a 30% increase on your property taxes. And then you're going to turn around and get a 20% increase on the food that you come in to buy at the restaurants and everywhere else.
Or
by the way,
get a 25% decrease by staying in the county, that hurts my business. If people go to the county restaurants because of the difference, the 2%, 4% meals tax in the county, 6% in town, that affects us.
Very much so.
Restaurants like us.
Wow.
And
very much
that's
so.
a major point.
What will happen, and
So
you know,
it's a
what's
total,
happening?
So it's a total of just the restaurants in the town. It's a total of.
Well, you can't quite look at it like that.
You can too.
Because it's a
Yeah,
20.
Your tax property has went up 30%, and your meals tax that you come in to spend, so you're paying another
20%.
20%. No, a total of 30 and 20.
Well, you can't combine those figures like that
Why can you not?
because it's on what you purchase.
Huh?
This is on what you purchase, not what you're being charged. So there's a choice element about being charged an additional 20% if you eat out at a restaurant in Rocky Mount. Everyone outside of Rocky Mount municipality will get a 30% increase, allegedly, with their property tax. Now, there's a revolutionary scheme that when I get my head round it, I will unfold and share. But property tax are not the guys that you want to penalise, because you're penalising success and property ownership. And there's all sorts of ramifications about property law, freehold, and the ability of taxation, which doesn't give you freehold to basically take the property from you.
While that is true, the population is on the lower end of the scale, and you're hurting them with the meals tax.
Yep. Yes, you are.
But in both of these situations, where is the reasonable expenditures? Where are the reasonable cuts?
There are none.
That self-governance is
There are
something
none.
that has to happen.
Where's the
Where
representation?
The good self-governance. Representation. Most people, so apathy kills. If people don't want to show up next Monday at the budget meeting,
Or call their councilman, all 7 plus the mayor. Call them. Please call them. You know, and I don't want to be the guy on this mic to swing round and say, I told you so. Because at that point, if it does go through, I think the apathy has won. All right. And I don't think that is in anyone's best interest. So I urge everyone, pick up the phone, come to the meeting. Please stop the lunacy before it even gets enacted. We can stop this.
We have the power.
Well, we do, and I'm disappointed to see the lack of participation with the town council and the residents of Rocky Mount. I mean, you've got to get up and pick up a phone, get engaged here.
I read something over the weekend.
Uh-oh, I didn't do it,
and I hope and pray that we never see the day that this statement kind of talks about. But it said, I prefer my whiskey from a barrel and my tea in a harbor.
Oh, that's a cut to the heart there.
Well, it wasn't sweet tea anyways, so who cares? You know what I mean?
Well, it was.
Hey, you know
it was.
what?
It was cold as well. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, that was a sin.
That was my first thought. Well, at least they didn't waste the sugar.
Exactly. Nobody worried about the rest of it. They're drinking tea. We're drinking coffee. Remember, Simon, apathy is the glove into which evil slips its hand.
This is what we're seeing here with. It's the ultimate corruption, isn't it? Really.
And it just seems nobody cares. And people, you have to get out. You have to understand this. Like, you're getting taken to the woodshed on every single level of your life. Every minute of your day is you work. The average citizen works 3 months out of the year for free. And that's just from an income tax level. That's not counting every other tax they try and levy on you. And
Meals tax, property tax, gas tax,
living tax,
water
death tax, property tax,
yeah,
everything.
The The worst one of all inheritance tax.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, they tax you from beginning to end, cradle to grave, and
Birth tax.
and
Heart
there's a lot of the
attacks.
stuff you can't do on the national or state level. But if every single person listening to these shows would make a difference locally, and every locality would make a difference, then the states would make a difference. And when every state makes a difference, then we're not going to change Joe Biden's mind.
No, this
Who
is
cares?
Coming
You gotta
soon, farting cow tax.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if we don't start at the local level to get our house in order, what hope do we have of getting the state to take its rightful powers back from the federal government? And that's that's a podcast ad infinitum. But, you know, we have to start and get engaged locally because we can make the difference. Believe it or not, we can actually make the difference locally. And all I'm asking is for everyone to make 7 phone calls.
Yeah.
Make 7 phone calls.
Or in the 15 minutes you could have showed up here tonight. You know, Bryan said his piece, Deborah said her piece, Simon, you said yours, and the only thing, you know, that I could come up with was, look, you got a man right here that wants to buy the thing, sell it to him, and then access assistant town manager position is essentially what I'm saying. Because look, I'm tired of the Cleveland Browns highlight video every time the harvester is being mentioned at town council meetings.
Is
you know
that
what
the
I mean?
one where they get up and show all the success they did? But
Exactly.
There's
There's 15 minutes of, and oh, well, hey, I met Randy and Deborah, and they were out of town, and their son was graduating high school, and they said, man, I just sure do like that harvester. Well, you know what? The name is the only thing you have done. That's it, the name. Everything else is a complete total failure. So pass that name. Tell Bryan he has to keep the name. Fine. I don't think you would care about changing the name. Leave it to harvester there. That's what it is. The name.
The concept.
I would want to make sure that there was no lawsuits from Harvester International. I would not want to take on that without being indemnified, and which was, I think, the proper pronunciation. So I did look up my word.
What is it?
Anathema.
Ooh, you better give me a definition on that pretty
Something
quick.
or someone that one vehemently dislikes.
There you go. I like that.
Strongly dislikes.
Strongly dislikes. Yeah, I think that's quite an appropriate word
So anyway,
in the
yes.
context that you were looking to use it.
And I couldn't pronounce it, and I couldn't get my head around it, but
You knew it was in there somewhere.
I went to the men's room and I said,
You knew that.
aha!
You
Bingo.
needed that place. That
Google
place
moment.
That place of
Magic wand.
clarity that is a men's bathroom.
There we go.
The one place that I get my peace and quiet in once a day.
So y'all were picking on me right here a while ago because y'all thought
We
I
weren't
was-
picking on you. We were just proud to see you reading it.
Well, I've been assassinated on this particular podcast by all 3 of you toe rags.
So
is
I
a
was
toe
going over this. Do you have anything else you want to share?
Oh, no, please go ahead.
Oh, I was going over this, and there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positions of the Rocky Mountain salaries that are over 40% increases
In 2 years.
in 2 years. There's only 6.
I just don't know how you can justify
Whoa. That's like 10% of the workforce. Don't put it in context of only 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That should be. One has to actually wonder: would it not be? What would the savings be if we wrap the police department into the sheriff's office?
I've touched on this, and I haven't had the time to research it, but it's due to the municipality of how a county seat, being Rocky Mount, has to run. So I think they have to have their own police department, being the county seat. That's
may.
my understanding.
But at the same, what is it? We saw how it was manipulated,
Yes.
and the org structure was changed to have one captain, no lieutenants, only in less than a year and a half to bring back those positions at a huge cost.
Yeah.
But what was the real huge cost? The captain. The unnecessary position was made. So just demote and remove one of the lieutenants, or force into retirement as they did the financial director when they didn't want her anymore. They wanted another white guy, which I'm hey, I'm white. I'm okay.
Easy now.
I know.
We're only
it was a crap move.
we're only 4/5 whited here, so.
But it was a crap move with the lieutenant they got rid of, and it was a crap move with the former finance director. And if you're not going to promote the assistant finance director to the role, you don't need that position. You don't need the captain position, and you certainly do not need the assistant town manager position. Those are, for a town this size, it's not that you're paying more than town managers and county administrators elsewhere. They're not necessary roles. End of story.
And look at that as a budget saving.
Over $500,000 right there.
There we go. And what are we looking to create each year for this debt of 64 acres? 400,000. Ooh, we're not in the hole again. What a concept.
But again, the last year's town budget was $7.5 million. This year's town budget is proposed at $8.7 million, and it's leaving off
Without.
So it's really a $10 million budget because you do it out of budget sequence. I'm sorry. It's disingenuous. And we've used that word quite a few times, but I think we all know what that means.
Absolutely. I think we've been very polite just by saying disingenuous.
63 positions.
But, you know, there's lots of financial questions here. Having disclosure of that financial investigation, I think needs to come to the surface.
What's the harm?
We need the transparency.
Transparency is key.
It's always
Who
key.
has access to the Harvester bank accounts?
Yep.
How many are there? Right? Wouldn't it be ironic if someone who retired from the town was appointed and has access to those accounts? Interesting minds, I want to know.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more.
Well, I'm just curious at where the journalism at these days, where the people getting in here and doing investigative journalism work. You know, these should be stories and questions that are being asked in all of our local news publications and local news outlets. And
Nowhere to be seen, mate. They're asleep at the wheel.
I mean, it's.
Last time the press showed up was at the trial of the assistant town manager, where the case was dismissed. And let us remind people, case dismissed does not equal not guilty.
And it was dismissed because
technicality.
Because one of the employees of the town manager could not be there.
No,
that was something completely different.
That's the town manager's traffic violation, where he was found guilty in a lower court, but then a police officer conveniently didn't show up to circuit court. But and it goes on. You have a town clerk accused of stealing a TV from Walmart, and so 3 people in the office.
I thought she was
3 people benefiting from a 2-tiered justice system.
That's certainly how it appears. I mean, I was at the hearing, the latest hearing, and
But that's where the press was.
That's where they were.
They named me.
Yeah.
In the article, I don't know if they named you.
Probably not.
They haven't touched this podcast with a 10-foot pole.
They haven't been at this budget. They're not.
Asleep at the wheel.
Roanoke Times is a piece of shit.
Oh, absolutely.
And the Franklin News Post is just an arm of the Roanoke Times. It's the same company. It's a rag. I mean, and that's not saying that every single person that works at the Franklin News Post is a rag. Morris Stevenson used to do great work, and Scoop's been there for a long time. But the one who supposedly shows up for the town stuff and writes her hit pieces and stuff, she is an NPC.
I don't know if she's still there because I haven't seen her name anywhere.
Well, she's
getting
out. She was getting outdueled by Britt.
He was at the trial.
Yep.
He knew. I've never met him in person. He knew my name, but I don't know.
That to me was I was quite alarmed at that trial to see how that went down and how the mechanism of legality
case dismissed does not equal
not guilty.
Not guilty, and the video shows guilt.
Absolutely.
Actually, it shows subsequent police video shows a police officer coaching a potential defendant on how to respond. Shocking.
Yeah, how do you do that? I mean, how on earth was that allowed to happen?
I pushed him back. Well, what you really want to say is you put your arms up and he walked into you. That's on video.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just, it's on the verge of being inconceivable. It blows my mind. I was very disappointed to see that outcome. That was a travesty.
Well, yes, I wish, I do wish Philip had done better. I wish he had taken a different approach. But at the cards are stacked against him. And that's just what it is in town here. There is, what was a rule for the,
Not for me.
but not for me.
Yeah, that is a very sad reflection.
Well, some way, shape, or form is going to have to put an end to all this nonsense because, I mean, the corruption, the backroom deals, all this nonsense that continues to go on. It's doing nothing but hamper our town. It's doing nothing but hamper the lives of our citizens. It's screwing into the ground the people who are working the hardest to be able to just keep their heads above water. And I'm frankly, I'm sick of it. I really am. I mean, like, you sit here and you complain about the people who aren't pulling their weight or saying they're not, doing this or this when the same very rules you put into place time and time again continue to put the boot on these same people's necks. How do you expect them to get above water? How do you expect this town to thrive? How do you expect this state of this country to thrive when the boot is constantly on your neck? And at this point in time, I'm just ready to lift the boot off and start firing back because this is, I mean...
But at the same, people need to be engaged.
They have to.
We
You have to
need
be there.
people
We
to be
need
there on Monday.
You have to be irritated at this shit.
But
people.
they can't be. They can't be. They're tied to their job. They can't afford to take an hour off of work early because then they got to turn around and make that hour up somewhere. Where they're going to make that hour up, or they're going to lose that, $22 in pay or whatever they may make.
Make 7 phone calls.
You see what I'm saying? I mean,
the taxpayers' interests are not being taken care of in a responsible financial manner.
no.
So,
And
$10 million this year. Where's that coming from?
So that's
For a town of
one
less
of my
than
questions
5,000.
did get answered. So we're already $5 million in debt.
That's what
5.5.
right, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. In the budget, there's a need for another $3 million, and I think it's for a fire truck, right?
And that's a very contentious issue that has been brought to my attention as well. And I think that the county, in fairness, because of 60% of the calls from Rocky Mount, even though they're being paid whatever the stipend is to attend these calls from the county isn't looking to replace or have any investment in replacing the equipment that the town uses to cover outside of
But again,
town limits.
Not everything is a top priority. So if the fire truck is a top priority, which it most likely is, something has to be sacrificed.
But now we've also got to consider the overspending mentality of the safety department, because at the moment, and I'm digging into this, and it will come out eventually.
I believe the citizens just paid $5 million for the new firehouse that public safety seems to be occupied.
That's county, right?
That's county,
Yeah.
and that's lunacy number one. We've got various accounts that are very questionable with regards to the county financing as well.
Yeah, could have built that for 1/10 of what they paid
Well,
for.
we're going to dig into that because the sign that I seen when I drove by the other day did not have a Glade Hill Fire Department, volunteer fire department like most all the other ones do. It had something 4 on it.
Don't know.
But
I mean, those are all valid points, and it's done. All right, so
it's not done.
Well, I mean, that funding has been spent and done. But again, you've got to look back and try and get some accountability, because that was, again, reckless spending from the county.
can you say 30% increase?
Well, the 30%, we know what that is.
Oh yeah, we know.
I mean, that's a shit show coming.
Well, we know why.
Yeah. So, you know, this reckless spending has to be drawn in. And the
Don't
safety,
get mad. Get involved.
get involved.
You know, hey, show up.
Let's at least make 6 or 7 phone calls. These are the residents of Rocky Mount. But our administrators have to be held with more transparency as to what their undertakings involve. And we're not getting it.
You know what? You don't even have to make 6 or 7 phone calls. If you're good, if you know somebody on the town council, and you call them and say, "Look, I just happened to be strolling through, listening to this podcast. Is there any truth to what these people are talking about?" And they can lay out their side of the story. And then when it all comes down the pipe, the cards fall where they will.
And I would want the opportunity to be able to respond.
Yeah.
The information I have is from FOIAs.
That's right.
You know, is from going
Is
to
he
meetings.
I'm just saying, you make your town council member put his neck out on the line and say, "No, this ain't going to raise your taxes. No, this is not going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt the town." And then when they make that vote, and it does or doesn't, then either way, his neck has been put out on line, because he's either we're spitting a bunch of BS by FOIA requests that's been made, or he's spitting BS, or they are spitting BS to you, and you get to see their true colors as to whether or not they really have your best interest in mind.
It's a great point. I mean, we want transparency.
Absolutely. That is a great point. But here's the kicker, and I asked this, the only question that I really wanted answered this evening was, if the town council were overwhelmed with phone calls against this proposal of increasing the meal tax, would they abide by their residents that appointed them and voted for them? Because if they didn't, those council members are no longer representing the people that voted them in. And I have that issue across the board with all local government. If they get in for 4 years, within 12 hours of them being elected, that shit goes out the window, and they become part of the problem, not part of the solution.
Well, here's the deal. If they truly hold to their word, they say, "Well, we listen to the citizens who show up and make their opinions known." Well, every opinion that was in there tonight completely disagree with just about everything they were doing. So either
100% against.
100% against. So either you take the advice of the people who do show up and care and understand that they're representation of the population, or you just tell us to shove off and you do what you're going to do.
And at that point, you are no longer a constitutional
because
republic.
nobody that actually showed up tonight was in favor of any of it. So, I mean,
But
take what you will from that, whether it was 5 people, 10 people, or 20, nobody in there agreed with it. So, for the people that do show up, this is the representation you have. So,
and how many times has something been brought to their attention? They still went down the path that they were going to go down, and then they were proven wrong. Time and time again.
Glade Hill, Summit Springs.
The police captain.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sorry. I know you like him personally, and I like.
But that's beside the point, though, isn't it?
It is beside the point.
That's the mechanics of the
They
issue.
were fooled into a certain path.
Yep.
They went down a fool's errand, really, and it came back and bit them. But it's like they seem to forget. The reason I FOIA is to have a record, a snapshot in time of something, and I can go back and refer to it. And so, just you've been pretty interested in all the raises. Those raises probably average over 25% when you think about it. If you're looking at 18s and 30s and 35s and 40s, it's a lot. Yep. And that was just in 2 years. And now they're going to throw another 7%. Because according to the town manager's contract, he'll get $10,000 raise.
So we're rewarding mediocre output, if it's mediocre.
He's promoting debt, not revenue. So at that point, You don't get rewarded for that. I'm sorry.
Well, they get rewarded for it, though. Well, they are anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't, but they are.
But if they're not prepared to abide by the residents' wishes, then
But the residents do need to speak up.
and they do need to speak up. And let's make that leap that most of the residents are going to be against this meal tax increase. If they choose to ignore that, at what point have we just taken another step of removing ourselves from a constitutional republic, which I think is really, really scary.
So, but kind of a little counter to your point, the last election had 4 seats up for election. 3 of the 4 switched hands, and the 4th, which was Ralph Casey, was really kind of a newbie anyway. So there were 4 new people on the board. There are 3 people who are coming up for re-election. I believe all 3 will be gone at the end. They may retire, but there was an effective election. I just wish that their actions reflected what their intentions were during the election.
Why they got elected.
And that's right.
And that goes to my point of abiding by the residents' wishes.
So term limits is one thing.
Great, love it. Thank you, Poland, for that.
Exactly. Yeah, but the elections actually serve. So incumbency is not a guaranteed thing. After the last election, that's a great thing.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
It just the damage that can be done in 4 years can be
insurmountable.
You may never undo it.
Yeah, and we're at that point now. We are there.
What are the chances of this being actually approved by the state?
I would say pretty good.
The term limit thing?
You're talking about a local municipality saying, hey, we want term limits on our council members?
And then the state overturn.
I can't imagine them
enforcing
denying it. I'm surprised that they have to get involved. I mean, I just don't understand
It kind of contradicts the whole purpose of local government in the first place.
I mean, it's
really.
kind of like,
And if they didn't, at what point was that put through? Was that a disingenuous move in the first place, knowing that the state might actually deny that?
No, I mean, that's a, yeah. No,
and that would be a classic political move. We know the outcome at the end of this cycle.
So what you're saying is that the council members have to vote on the budget, but the mayor can say, well, it's what the council wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you, so.
Yeah, pretty much.
Maybe the 6 council members may ought to just look at each other and say, you vote yes, I vote no. You vote yes, I vote no. You vote yes, I vote no. And then
guess what?
The mayor has to go on record. That would be, that would actually be pretty funny.
It would be interesting.
So then he would be spending it's game 7.
Yeah,
all
it
or
is.
none. 50 points by Stephen Curry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't watch the NBA.
I don't either. That sounds like a pretty good place to go ahead and stop us for the night. We went over. Because I know Bryan needed to get out of here about an hour and a half ago. We kept
we got to go home.
This is what Simon does to people. This is why I'm telling you there is some MK Ultra stuff going on with him. He has the ability to sucker people into discussions that just go on a lot.
Don't blame me for this.
I mean, it's almost a an acknowledgement of your success. Not a blame at all, but touched on some good topics tonight. Look, as everybody said here, get involved. For the love of God, get involved. Start holding these people's feet to the fire. Phone call, email, go on Facebook. And this is another problem too. Not a lot of them are there for social media, which is a pinnacle of discourse these days. Anyway, like. It should almost be mandatory if you're going to add in term limits. Why don't you add in that every single town manager needs to have, or town council member needs to have a social media page they can be contacted by their representatives. Because here in Rocky Mount, Simon brought this up the other day, we don't have districts. It's not like, this side of town we vote for this person. It just ends up going to who ends up getting the most votes. So how do we exactly know who we should call? You know what I mean? Who
call them all.
So you have to call them all.
You have to call them all.
Call them all. Get on their Facebook pages. Whatever you got to do. Tell them this is nonsense. We're tired of it. We're going to start holding your feet to the fire. As far, yeah.
Can you say your famous, violent, provoking words?
You got to be more specific. I have a lot of those. I don't.
He's full of those.
Raise the temperature in the room.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm
Raise-
sorry. Yes.
Yes. Can you say it?
Racially tinged language.
No, that is not what I was talking about.
Raise the temperature in the room. Show up
With bodies.
with bodies. Be there.
You have to be there.
Be there. Show up. Let them know there's 100 people that are irritated, pissed off.
If
'Cause
you
four
don't
of us,
show
they
up,
don't care.
yeah, if you don't show up Monday at 6 p.m. at 345 Donald, you're telling town council it's okay to raise your taxes.
Full disclosure, I will not be there because I have a pre-planned family vacation that has been going on. But I have been here recently quite a bit to most of the meetings that I'm trying to show up and
Yes,
I'm trying
you
to
have.
represent as much as I possibly can. I need people to pick up my slack, show up. I also need people to go to patreon.com/getontap. We're trying to work our way into a new studio, and in order for that to happen, then we need to increase our subscriber base. It's going to be a sweet studio that also will be able to host podcasts on a more intimate level. So I think it's going to increase everything as far as the show is concerned. So patreon.com/getontap. Every subscriber, we appreciate it. We're reinvesting it back into everything we're doing here. Or you can go to Cash App or Venmo at getontap or WB Riddle at PayPal. One-time donations are welcome for our Patreon subscribers. Hey, look, next couple of days, be listening. Maybe we'll reach out to a couple of you all if we can do this special show at the Rocky Mountain Burger Company on Wednesday or Thursday with Rick Reeves and a special guest. Maybe we'll invite a handful of our Patreon subscribers out there to go sit in the top room if we can make this happen. We'll see how it goes. But other than that, be on the lookout. Go check our page out for the Spike Cohen event coming on at the end of May. That's going to be massively big. We're going to have a lot of big names showing up for that. We're going to be talking Liberty. We're going to be talking about ways to get involved locally. Spike's former presidential candidate, like we've said before, so he's got a lot of interesting things to say. We want all the farmers, all the Patriots, everybody to show up to the early end, May 23rd. That's a Tuesday, 6 p.m. Kyle Forey.
It's going to be a biggie.
Harwell Grice frontman and panhandler Josh Grice will be playing music. Hopefully reach out to a couple more people. We're going to have some food there. It's going to be a good time. Everybody, thank you for showing up here tonight. Yes, Chris. Jesus.
Just say, make the phone calls, guys. We're not asking a great deal here. Make the phone calls. It's in your interest, very much in your interest, to stop what is going on. And you can do it.
Amen, brother.
And Bryan, thank you so much for your time. And as, hey, real quick, the official first recurring sponsor of the Appalachian Podcast, Rocky Mountain Burger Company.
We love them.
And we've been a fan for him long before he ever gave us money to say that. So we certainly appreciate him. And look, go down there, have a good time, catch a race on Sunday, football season. Maybe we'll make a once a month or something during football season. We'll go down there and watch a couple of games and maybe do just a podcast on fantasy football or something. Well, we have so many options we have with this, so I'm excited about it.
Is fantasy football, ain't that where the panhandler has taken some of your money?
Thank you, everybody, for showing up here today. Patreon.com/getontap, WB Riddle, PayPal, at getontap, Cash App, and Venmo. Please subscribe. Help us out. We'll see you next time.